Welcome back. We are on our LJ project again. Our long arm is just about buttoned up. Next step is our 4-link custom exhaust kit. 2.5-inch pipe, all custom bent for our long arm configuration. Comes with a new Magna Flow cat, new glass pack, all the piping you need. We're going to chop most of the OE exhaust kit out. So we're going to jump over to that. We're going to cut our Y pipe on the ground because I had to take out the exhaust to do a leaky oil pan and rear main seal, just like every other Jeep 4.0 owner out there. Hopefully that sticks for a couple years before I have to do it again, but let's get cutting on that pipe. So our instructions say 1 inch past the bend. And you can see this is a long bend here. So wherever you can start to see any kind of bend here, that's where we're going to start our measurement. We're going to give ourselves maybe an extra inch, so we've got some room to work with if we need to make some adjustments under there. But let's get this cut. We got our factory Y pipe back on. If you got a buddy, grab them. It'll help because that was a job in itself. Got it cut off per our instructions. We got it cleaned up, ready for weld or clamp. Haven't decided that yet. Now we need to get our freshly installed flat belly skid out. And while I have that out, I think I'm going to take a grinder and just nip these little studs off, give myself a little more ground clearance, and then we can start attaching pipe and orienting it. We're probably going to have to stuff the rear axle while we have stuff tacked to make sure everything's going to clear before we finish weld it. So let's get after it. So we're going to put our front pipe in first. It does have a bend. You'll be able to see which way that goes once you get it up there. Just going to slot right over that front Y pipe. Make sure you slide it all the way forward to where it bottoms out. So we do not have a downstream O2 sensor. So kit comes with a plug for the O2 bung. So we're going to plug that off before we put it in. We'll tighten that up. We'll get this tacked up in there. So we got our new cat. We got our plug in. You want the plug towards the rear of the vehicle. So, you know, think post-cat O2. So we got our cat in there. We did end up clocking it just a hair. So now we got a little more rattle room. For the fins, they were getting a little close to the existing. Looking at it now, it's actually touching it. So we're going to have to adjust that. We got our small pipe in here. It's got a very slight bend to it, and you want this bend forcing the muffler, the glass pack, towards the center of the vehicle, and that's for your upper control arm clearance. So now we're going to move on to our tailpipe. All right, so we're going to work on our tailpipe section here. Slide all that through. Hard to film. All right, so now we're just going to check clearances to our tank, make sure our shock body has room to come up, and try our best to get this above the bottom of our fuel tank skid. So we got to kind of finagle it around a little bit, make sure everything fits. We're going to wire everything up so that it's kind of hanging on its own, clearing everything, then we'll start tacking it. So we have everything kind of mocked up in here. Nothing is tacked. We're doing our last checks before we start tacking everything. So we've got jack stands, we've got blocks up in here to make sure everything is going to clear. So, you know, starting here, we had our 1-inch cut back, got that cleaned up and slotted in. You got your bend here. This bend will go towards the transmission and slightly up. You can adjust that as you need to. And then once you get your catalytic converter in here, like we did, we twisted that because we were having clearance issues with these side fins. We've also got a couple blocks under here to clear our bolts for our new transmission cross member. We've got our short piece here that's got the slight bend pointing towards the center, which is kicking our glass pack towards the center to clear our upper control arm. And then we got that held up at the height that we wanted. So we have our rear axle not currently fully stuffed, but we did fully stuff it to make sure that was going to clear. And if you want to jump around to the back, we'll look at the tailpipe section. We've got that held up at the height we wanted. We wanted clearance to the gas tank and to make sure we had plenty of room for our shock tower so we're not boiling any oil and we're not burning any gas. So I'm liking where we're sitting now, so we're gonna start tacking this together and checking clearances as you go. If anything shifts or anything, make sure you make that adjustment now. So always check your clearances all the way around everything. Once you're happy with it, tack it together. It's a big day. Finally getting my own shirt. Now we're official. All right, so we did one final check here. Everything looks good. We're gonna tack it all together, and then we're gonna try and shimmy it out as one complete unit from the slip up front off the Y-pipe, and then weld it all on the bench. We'll see if we'll be able to get it out. So let's get it all tacked up, see if we can get it out of here and get it fully welded. I can't see. Okay, so we got everything tacked as best as we could. This front pipe's got a little wiggle room in it, so we're gonna try and straighten it to what we thought was how it was sitting. Throw as many tacks on it as you can so there's as little flex as possible. We drooped out the rear axle completely and we were able to twist it, and then it actually came out the rear passenger side. So it does take a little work. Grab a second set of hands. You'll have to twist and finagle it. It really wasn't too bad, but we were able to get it out as one section. Like I said before, we're going to leave this slip and probably just clamp it so that in the future, when I got to do another rear main, we can pull the exhaust out as one piece. So we got it tacked. We're going to fully weld this thing, get it put back in, figure out if we need to put any hangers in anywhere specifically. I don't think we're going to need to, but we'll check at that point. So we're going to get it welded up now. So on the glass pack side, if you look in here, there's an inner sleeve and then the actual glass pack. So you do want to seal in both sides of that. As you look here, I'm trying to do it in one pass instead of running a bead and a bead. It's preference, whatever's easier for you. If you got to do tack welds, just make sure it's sealed up, no pockets, no holes. Keep all that exhaust flowing to the rear tip. It's going to make it seem like the Flo Pro actually has some balls behind it. So yeah, a little bit. So we've got our exhaust, it's all, hangers are in, everything's welded. So now we're just gonna, engine's running. We're gonna go by all of our weld marks and check for leaks. If we find any leaks, we'll tack on or weld up the hole and we'll be good to go. We got one little guy up there we're gonna have to hit. Not too shabby. We got our old catalytic converters are rattling, so that's fun. All right, so everything's been buttoned up. We fixed our one pinhole. Everything is solid. We got our flat belly skid back up there. It's not a bad job. If you can work with a welder, just go slow. Make sure you got your clearances everywhere. Make sure your angles are correct. Clean up where you got to weld with some brake clean. Make sure you get all that cutting oil off of it. And you should be good to go. If you got a buddy to help you, makes stuff a lot easier. I had Mr. Cameraman sometimes, but yeah, we're on to the next few little things we got to do on this project, but we're getting close. We're getting really close. So can't wait to finish this up, get it on the RTI ramp and see how we can outscore you know, the intro to our build series video. So it's gonna be interesting. So let's get this thing buttoned up. The bosses are wanting it off the lift and out of the shop, so let's get her did.